Make sure your mics are on, please.
All right. We ready?
Yep.
You guys signed in earlier, didn't you? Okay, very good. And we'll bring the November 15th, 2023 meeting of the DeKalb County Council to order, and we'll begin with an opening prayer by Councilwoman Prosser.
Would you please join me in prayer? Heavenly Father, we thank you for a beautiful day and an opportunity to come as public servants to do the work of the citizens of DeKalb County. We pray that you would give us your wisdom and just your thoughts and your understanding of the best decisions that we can make today. We pray it all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Amy. All right, that brings us to the minutes of the September 26th meeting. I can have a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Been moved by Councilman Collins and a second by Councilman Prosser. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. That motion is carried. Now, if you give me just a second to get the appropriations up here. All right. And we have additionals. We have 3 additionals. And the first one comes to us for county general, and it is from the Public Defender's Office. Department is Public Defender, fund is the general fund, and it's from the account for the administrative assistant in the amount of $7,760. Administrative assistant position went full-time as of January 1, 2023. When the full-time account was set up, the part-time dollars were appropriated in error. Was this included in an annual budget request? The answer is yes. How will this appropriation be used? It will be used for payroll. Specific cost is $7,760. How was the cost determined? Pay rate times 35 hours times 35 weeks minus original appropriation. Is this a recurring expense? The answer is yes. Will other expenditures be necessary? The answer is no. And was this discussed with the department liaison? And the answer to that is no. And there is a note in there from the auditor, Susan Sleeper. Susan, you want to explain what happened here?
Sure. I don't know what I put my note as, but it was the person was part-time, and when we were going through all the budget totals a year ago, then I did not change it to the full-time wage. I left it as a part-time wage into her different account number. I just didn't put the full amount. So you guys have approved it. This is making it official for my paperwork.
And that is essentially what's in the email. It's attached to the additional appropriation paperwork. So, can I have a motion to approve this transfer in the amount of $7,760?
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Prosser,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Dembski. Discussion, comment from the public. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. That motion is carried. Next comes to us for the Highway Department from the Cume Highway Fund. Requested amount is $1,149,605. There was dollars left at the end of 2022. DLGF approved the 2023 less that amount, now requiring us to submit an additional. Was this included in the annual budget request? The answer is yes. How will this appropriation be used? The budgeted appropriations as approved by council during budget adoption. How was this cost determined per the DLGF and the financial advisor? Is this a recurring expense? The answer is no. And was this discussed with the department liaison? The answer is yes. That was Councilman Kraft. I have a motion to approve this additional.
Move to approve.
Been moved by Councilman Kraft. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Van Wy.
And then I can explain.
Yeah, if you would,
Call me.
please.
It really is more of a bookkeeping thing. We forgot to, or we did not encumber that money at the end of '22 to carry it forward to '23, so we have to do this now as an additional, but it's really monies for '22 that we should have encumbered. Is that right, Susan, or am I?
Well, yes, I believe that is how George Hilton tried to explain it to me. I wasn't aware of that part. Like, you guys already approved the full amount, and I had Jeff Peters working with George Hilton because I didn't understand why we had to do this. But at the end of the day, Jeff told me just do it, and the money's there. We're not sure. It has to do with the LGF's bookkeeping records, I guess.
Something about we should have in '22 when we had that money left. We should have had a way to claim.
I think they wanted us to do an appropriation reduction before the end of the year in '22, which we've not done those before, because if you don't spend the money, it just stays in the fund.
Stays there.
So to Jeff and I, it stayed in the fund, the money's there. We did our budget as according to the funds we had, and everything went through. But to DLGF, they only approved part of it because this amount they couldn't see yet, apparently, when they approved the budget.
So this has absolutely nothing to do with moving money because of restricted or unrestricted funding or anything else.
Nope.
And the money was in the fund at the end, and we're just making a correction
It's
before
strictly-
And you all
23.
approved it during the budget
For '23.
for '23.
Okay.
But we didn't have to send anything back or anything that money.
No, this is more just of a corrective action to make it correct for DGLF.
For DL, yeah.
Tracking.
It was, yeah, I don't have that pulled. I mean, like, this is really just doing it for the fund. Like, we're not putting it into, he's already put it into all of those with his budget that he requested for this year. So it's in multiple different things.
But it doesn't go from any fund to another fund. It's all within the highway fund.
It's
It's in
really,
Cume Bridge.
it's just a carryover to get that money showing correctly on the books for GGLF from '22 to '23.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion? Comment from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor of this additional signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion is carried. The next additional comes to us from the probation department. And from the ATC donation fund. This is for testing services, the amount of $3,125. Donation by DeKalb Monarch Foundation, grant money they received from Drug Free DeKalb. Was this included in the annual budget request? The answer is no. The fund was just recently created. How will this appropriation be used? To assist the cost of drug screens for addiction treatment court participants. Cost of specific items, $9.77 to $11.77 for each test. Prices are set by Abbott and Redwood Toxicology. Is this a recurring expense? The answer is yes. Will other expenditures be necessary? The answer is no. Discussed with the liaison? The answer is yes. Liaison's name was Councilman Yard. I have a motion to approve this additional in the amount of $3,125. Been moved by Councilman Yard. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Collins. Comment from the public? Brian, do you have anything you want to say about this, or?
Other than donation funds. The donation funds were recently set up over the summer from the county attorney, and this was the first donation that we've received from the Monarch Foundation through Drug Free. And it used to be a donation fund through the probation department, and because the problem-solving courts have been growing, we had to set up our own donation fund for each court to make sure the money was separate, appropriate. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Anyone else from the public? Council discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of this additional signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion is carried. All right. Thank you, Ryan. Moving on to transfers. All right, transfers, starting with County General. The first comes to us from Development Services. This is within County General, transferring from petroleum product supplies to vehicle maintenance and repair, $500. Why is this transfer needed? Needed to get the building inspector truck new brake pads, spark plugs, need to cover the cost of a couple more oil changes in 2023 and any surprise expenses. Will an additional appropriation be requested due to this transfer? The answer is no. And was this discussed with the department liaison? The answer is yes, and that was Councilman Van Wy. And I have a motion to approve this transfer of $500.
So move.
Been moved by Councilman Van Wy. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Yard. Discussion? Comment from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor of this transfer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion is carried. All right, we have 3 transfers for the commissioners in County General, one in the amount of $62,500, one in the amount of $10,000, and one in the amount of $1,500. Can we take all of these with a single motion?
I move that
Hearing
we
yes.
approve all of
I'm
them.
hearing yes.
I move that we approve all of them.
All right, well, let me read what they are, and then we'll make a motion to do that, just that. All right, the first one from County General in the amount of $62,500 is taking money from PERF and transferring it to the Sculpin EDF consultant fee. Why is this transfer needed? Sculpin EDF was paid the county $100,000 as part of their agreement, and it has been receipted into the general fund. Will this additional appropriation be requested due to the transfer? The answer is no. Was this discussed with the liaison? The answer is yes, and that was myself. The next one is also County General in the amount of $10,000 coming from PERF to soldier burial. Why is this transfer needed? Increase of allowance in 2023. Was the additional appropriation to be requested due to this transfer? The answer is no. Was this discussed with the department liaison? The answer is yes. The background on that is previously for a soldier burial, you were allowed $100 for the burial, $100 for the plaque. for a total of $200. That was changed for 2023 to $500 for the burial, $100 for the plaque, so it's now $600. So a $400 per burial difference. The next is from, again, County General for the Commissioners, from PERF to travel, training, and education in the amount of $1,500. Why is this transfer needed? Estimated amount of 2023, as this was for the first year, Commissioners and Council were separated into separate locations. Will additional appropriation be requested due to the transfer? The answer is no. Was this discussed with the liaison? The answer is yes. That was myself. So if I can have a motion to approve all of these in a total of, what is that total, Susan? Do you know offhand?
74,000.
How much?
74.
$74,000. I have a motion to approve those transfers. Bill, are you still going to make that motion?
Oh, I lost interest when you started reading.
Yeah, I thought you did. All
I
right,
move that
Bill's-
we approve it.
Bill's made that motion. Is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Prosser. Comment from the public? Comment from the council? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Yeah, I have a question. So why are we, if this money was paid by Sculp and EDF to the county, why are we having to transfer it from PERF to that account?
Because they paid the money after the budget was done for 2023. So their money, their specific 100,000 isn't actually appropriated. So instead of doing an additional
Okay.
appropriation, because there's other funds available, I'm just transferring.
Got it.
So the consulting was to cover our fees as a county? Their donation, is that what we're?
They had to pay in their economic development agreement, they had to pay, I think it could end up being up to 200,000. They had to pay 100,000 when they submitted, and that is to cover any consulting fees that we needed to take care of their business. And then if everything dies and goes away, if there's anything left of that 100,000, then I pay it back to them. Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of this transfer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion is carried. The next is also through the general fund, and it's for Circuit Court. And Circuit Court is requesting to transfer $3,500 from other service fees to overtime straight time. Why is this transfer needed? Overtime account is in the negative. Will an additional appropriation be requested due to this transfer? The answer is no. And this was not discussed with anyone.
I told her to do it.
Did you? Okay, that's why.
They used to not report their overtime, and they have been, and so they
Right,
haven't
and we made
budgeted
that-
prior, and
We made that clear to them earlier in the year that if they worked more than their allotted time, they were to record their time. So
yep.
so they're following the direction, and hopefully that in next year's budget, they've budgeted accordingly. But, and we should see several more of these, I would think, as we get close to the end of the year about any accounts being in the negative.
Well-
Moving money around so that we don't have any
That's
negatives.
kind of why you have so many right now, plus
Today?
you have a lot of non-approval transfers,
Mm-hmm.
because, I kind of put a bug in the ear.
It's the
to
end of
watch
the
more.
year.
Yeah.
All right, so if I can have a motion to approve this transfer. Bob, was that you?
Rick?
Rick? Motion by Councilman Collins. Second by Councilwoman Prosser. Discussion? Comment from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion is carried. And next comes to us from the commissioners for the Lighted Fund. And again, there are 3 transfers here. one for $4,000, one for $100, and one for $1,000, so $5,100. Can we take all of these as a single group?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. This is from the lighted fund, the amount of $4,000 from highway operations, 31064 to highway operations 21064. Some claims were for supplies that needed to come from an account that starts with a 2, where others are for services that come from a number 3 account. Will an additional appropriation be requested due to this transfer? The answer is no. Was this discussed with the department liaison? The answer is yes. That would be myself. The next one,
Just so you all know, to save you time, that is the explanation for all 3 of these.
okay, all right, then.
Period.
One, it's same, we're not gonna read those, but we will say this next one for $100 is going from unsafe structures to unsafe structures. And the next one is for county building improvement repair, going back and forth between those two. So if I can have a motion to approve those transfers, then moved by Councilman Yard. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Kraft. Comment from the public?
What is number 14 their bridge numbers or number 64? Is that?
No, those numbers were prior numbers they went by in their seeded lighted monies.
Okay.
And then, like, their accounts used to start that way, but they needed to get into the correct
Are they
categories.
from a 3 to a 2? Are they changing their numbers?
It's going from, it's
Unsafe to
budgeted
unsafe.
in the services category, and we paid a supply. So
Okay.
I pay supplies out of it too.
Okay, all right, thank you.
This doesn't have to do with restricted and unrestricted? It's
No.
okay.
Nothing.
All right, the next
A second.
group, and this comes from project income.
We got to take a vote.
Didn't we vote on that? Okay. All those in favor of that transfer from, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion's carried. All right, next. Community corrections, project income. We have 3 from here in the amount of 2,000, 2,200, and 500. And the first one for $2,000 is being transferred from food to overpayments. Why is the transfer needed? We have approximately $600 we need to process in refunds now, and we'll have more before the end of the year. Will an additional appropriation be requested? The answer is no. The next one, in the amount of $2,200, is going from food to computer equipment for $2,200, and the next one is going from food to furniture and fixtures in the amount of $500. And there are 9 PCs at Community Corrections that will not run Windows 11. We are replacing 1 laptop and 2 PCs. We were also informed that we will need to purchase a new what is this? Server that hosts our G and H drives. We also have purchased sit-stand converters for our front office staff. Will an additional be requested because of this transfer? The answer is no. And was this discussed with the liaison? The answer is yes, and the liaison is Councilwoman Dembski. Look at something. And of course, all of the attached to the request is all of the backup quotes and everything. So can I have a motion to approve these? Who was that, Bill?
Rick.
Moved by Councilman Collins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Dembski. Comment from the public? Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion is carried. The next one comes from Central Communications for our CUME cap in the amount of $28,716, and it's being transferred from furniture and fixtures to other service fees. Money was appropriated in the incorrect account number, my error. Will another appropriation be requested due to this transfer? The answer is no. Was this discussed with a liaison? The answer is yes, and that liaison is myself. I have a motion to approve this transfer for Central Communications in the amount of $28,716.
So move.
Been moved by Councilman Van Wy. It's been seconded by Councilwoman Dembski. Comment from the public? Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion's carried. Next comes to us from the Sheriff's Department. This is from handgun permits in the amount of $426, and it's being transferred from supplies to equipment. $2,500 was budgeted in the equipment account, and 6 handguns have been purchased for the new deputies hired. The invoice for 6 guns for $2,926. So a transfer of $426 needs to be made from 22,130 supplies to be able to pay the invoice to Kaiser Police Supply. Was this discussed with the department liaison? The answer is yes. The liaison was myself. I have a motion to approve this transfer of $426.
I'll move to approve.
Been moved by Councilman Yard, been seconded by Councilman Kraft. Comment from the public? Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion's carried. Next one comes to us from the Highway Department in the amount of $20,000. And $20,000 being transferred from petroleum products to insurance. Insurance, why was the transfer needed? Insurance account is short because of the change of premiums in health insurance, which would have occurred in July. Is an additional appropriation going to be requested due to this transfer? The answer is no. Was this discussed with the liaison? The answer is yes. That was Councilman Kraft. And I have a motion to approve this transfer in the amount of $20,000.
I make the motion.
Been moved by Councilman Kraft. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Collins. Discussion, comment from the public? Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. That motion's carried. And the last one comes to us from Community Corrections, and this is within the state grant for Community Corrections. The amount of $45, residential service officer, from residential service officer to uniforms. Why is the transfer needed? Upon resignation, employee did not return one of her uniform shirts she was issued at the start. $45 is being deducted from her final paycheck on 11/17/23. The $45 was applied to her payroll account, 11/692, and needs to be transferred to the uniform account. Will an additional appropriation be requested due to this transfer? The answer is no. Was this discussed with the department liaison? The answer is yes, and that was Councilwoman Dembski. There a motion to approve this transfer? Been moved by Councilwoman Dembski. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Yard. Comment from the public? Discussion? Council? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. That motion is carried. And that is it for additionals and transfers.
I'm going to start signature sheets. There are 2 months, you have September and October, that you're certifying that you've seen the financial reports by fund, since we didn't have a meeting last month.
Now, I don't know if you've all had a chance to look at it yet, but the airport report was added to the file last night late. Randy, we're ready for you.
Blue lights on. Good morning, all.
Good morning, Randy.
The airport, the runway extension is done. The airport, we opened it. Some of you were there for the ribbon cutting. Thank you very much. I'm going to first comment on the operations report for October. 2,198 operations in 1 month. 101 jet operations. This is what we expect to see increasing with the increase in the length of the runway and capabilities. And once we get the precision approach equipment back operational, I think that's going to increase dramatically. So it just helps us support ourselves and not be a burden to anybody. The self-serve fuel system is complete. We're still touching on some signage and a few things that need to work. It's now like a gas station. They taxi up to the pumps, put the credit card in, pump the fuel, off they go. Our folks that are the airplanes that are residing at the airport and renting space actually do get a discount for buying fuel at the pump. They can still request the truck to come down and fuel their airplanes, but they do get credit for being a good tenant at the airport. The fuel tanks, we used to have two 5,000 or 6,000 gallon tanks. That one was avgas, one was Jet A for the jets, and so now we're going to take the one that was using the avgas and have it converted over to Jet A. So we'll have almost 12,000 gallons of gas for the jets on site. And they'll have a truck that can come out and fuel the jets. And that's been working out very, very well. We're hoping that's going to, again, enhance our capability to serve the public. Our construction, this year, we have the grant. We're going to be moving equipment, precision approach equipment, still doing some signage, working on the runway. The runway construction wasn't without interesting occurrences. They went out to remove the temporary markings, basically with a high-pressure washer, and it ate through the runway. That runway's been there for 20-some years. Russ and Jason go out, I think, twice a year and patch cracks, trying to keep the runway in usable service. We don't want kicking up pieces where airplanes can pick up garbage off the runway and suck it down a jet engine or break windshields and things like that. So they're working on it. So we did have to replace a section of the runway where they took the temporary numbers off. While the construction was going on, Russ said he was sitting in his office and got a radio in there, and he heard an airplane making an approach during that month when the runway was closed. So he jumps in his car, calls the guy on the radio, doesn't respond, runs out to the end of the runway, all the lights are going on the truck, the airplane goes and lands right behind him. Yeah. So he asked the pilot what was going on. He says, well, I didn't know you were closed. And of course, there's big X's on the end of the runway. And he says, I can't low on fuel, and I didn't realize I was coming here. I would have looked at all the NOTAMs, which is a notice to airmen that says the DeKalb County Airport runway was closed. So there are some interesting stories during construction, but we're back into full operation with that. And then since the runway ribbon cutting, I've received personally a number of questions about funding and why we're spending all this county money on an airport that nobody uses, was the quote. And so in this month's report, we added the information on the FAA's funding mechanism we don't spend county money on these big projects. They're FAA funded. We do have a local match that we have to do. Most of these projects are 90% FAA, 5% from the state, 5% from local. And we fund that out of our budget and our income. People that use airplanes, that buy fuel, that's where the funds are collected to support the FAA. And these are now competitive grants. That money goes into the FAA. We apply for the grants, and then the grants are distributed out based on our airport improvement plan that we have stretched out for the next 6 years. And so any improvements we intend to make are on that AIP, as the FAA calls it. So we're looking forward to finishing the precision approach. Part of I still don't understand why the FAA didn't just do it, but we added 2,000 feet on the runway without adding 2,000 feet of taxiway. When I was flying regularly, there were no taxiways. You pulled out from the thing and you would call on the radio and say, we're back taxiing the active, which means I'm going the wrong way down the runway to get to the end, to turn around and take off. Right now, we've got 5,000 feet of taxiway and 7,000 feet of runway. So shortly, one of the grants that we've applied for and will be likely receiving, since the project's ongoing, will be to add that extra 2,000 feet of taxiway so that airplanes can taxi down the runway off the active and be able to get to the appropriate end they need to get to take off. So all of these projects are FAA approved. We apply for the grant. The only county money comes out of the airport's budget, and it's mostly from our own income from sales of fuel, rentals, and other options for income that we have. And with that,
And even though it does appears as a smaller number on the graph, the airport is utilized by business. It's not all.
Gosh,
it's
yes.
not all for pleasure. It is
no.
vital to our business climate here in DeKalb County.
there are a number of jet services out there where I can call and say, I want to go to Georgia today and then come back tonight. And you can call and rent a jet. And I think the first week after we opened, there were 4 rental charters that landed, picked up county residents, took off, and then came back that day or the next day. And so we are doing that. Paratus runs some charters. And so we've got businesses, people flying things in and out, supplies in and out. I haven't seen it in a long time. It used to be an old DC-10 that Ricky's would fly parts and supplies in and out on. But I haven't seen that one in a long time. And there is a lot of commercial traffic. State police use our airport on occasion for fueling and changing crews and things. So
Where Samaritan is based there.
Samaritan is based. We actually have a 50-year lease with Parkview Health Systems to house Samaritan at our airport. On days when it's cold, icing, rainy, whatever, they actually have quarters and a hangar capable of handling one airplane or one helicopter in a maintenance bay, the other helicopter in an active bay, and they would spend the night there if need to, or don't have to. They can stay down at the hospital as well. But we see them going in and out on a regular basis.
And as the runway is done now, so now we have space where we can start adding hangars, which will increase the rental income that the airport receives. And
Yes. We have, I think last count was like 40 people on a waiting list for hangars. So at our last board meeting, our engineering representative was discussing the addition of at least 10 T hangars, with one section of T hangars with 10 spaces is roughly $1 million to put in all of the infrastructure, pavement, and actually build the hangars. So we are looking at that. That's a down-the-road project once the taxiway and the precision approach equipment's done. Immediately after that, we are going to resurface the existing 5,000 feet of runway to keep it going. Like I say, they're doing crack repair constantly to keep that runway in good shape.
And have you, they've made arrangements to move the Meese Chapel building yet?
Haven't heard. Practically, we're not in a big hurry for that to go yet. We don't have any designated plan for that space. Getting that space was important to us just to eliminate up close things to the airport, operations like that, so we're not endangering anybody. And so we have some interest. I've heard that there's somebody that wants to move it. They've asked us about some funding for it, which we can't provide. And I understand they're looking for funding to move it. And actually, I think there was a question about could they use our name to get the electric wires moved when the building moves down the road? Because apparently, if it goes where we think it's going to go, it's got about a 2-mile trip to make, and there's a number of wires and phone lines and stuff that would have to be relocated temporarily to make that move happen.
Anybody else have any questions for Randy? If not, thank you, Randy. Appreciate it.
Looking forward to a big year.
Next, the discussion for the tourism budget approval.
Everybody have a budget in front of them, or did everybody?
Should have a copy
Yes,
of
they
it,
have one.
was included.
Yours was all stacked right in order.
If not, I have plenty.
All right, there it is. This here. Pages.
Yeah, it's front and the back. Try to keep it simple.
That's not.
Okay, thanks for having me. I'll just kind of go through a couple of line items. We are putting a lot more in our advertising and promo. We have a lot of expanded advertising that we would like to do. We're looking into a platform called Placer AI, where it's captures cell phone technology that's in real time. It can actually tell people how many, you can geofence museums, a corn maze, different, like the Spencerville Covered Bridge we used as an example, so it can actually tell you, per their algorithm, how many people are coming to a place, what their travel pattern looks like, so where they're going to before and after a location, actually how much money they're spending, what restaurants they're going to, those kind of things. So it can really help with kind of getting solid numbers on how people are visiting and be able to use those numbers. Print costs are up, obviously, so there's a little bit of an increase there. Memberships are up all over the place. So to be a part of groups like the Indiana Tourism Association, East Region Tourism Association, which really gives us a voice at the table for tourism legislation, which is important, to know like what grant money is available and kind of how to tap into some of that granting and actually know some of the legislation coming up, so we can kind of place ourselves for different opportunities that are coming up.
Amber, sorry to interrupt you. Can
Yeah.
we get a copy of that budget?
Yeah.
We're not finding it. Amy's not finding it. Anybody else?
Do you?
It's in the packet.
Thank you very much.
I have it on my computer, but thank you. Our board did pass to provide a healthcare stipend to our full-time employees, which is 2 of us. That just pays half of our health insurance via marketing, via the marketplace. So that's been helpful for both of us. So that's a new line item that we had just added this year. You'll see the salaries and wages go up because we have put together a job description for a new full-time data analysis and content creator to take a little bit off of Daniel's place because we have a website rebuild and we are working hard. So that's going to help us get out to the smaller communities, having just a little bit more help in that education area. A couple of big opportunities, I guess I wanted to talk about with the advertising and incentives. I've been traveling a lot, kind of getting out and about in the community. We're applying for a grant through Visit Indiana that can go up to I think $20,000 or $25,000. So what we want to do there, we want to build kind of I'm trying to get it as close to the 1924 winning Duesenberg of the Indy 500. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we're pairing Gary Babineau, hopefully with the Garrett Trade School, because they have 70 students within the welding and fabrication program. And so this grant, carrying the In Indiana moniker, can be used promotionally to get out and about in the community. And we can have the kids at the Garrett Trade School kind of take on this project, YouTube channel, really get the branding of what that looks like, and then get it all around Indiana. There's that grant money available for that. So that's something that we're trying for. I know Rick will do this, but we are getting on to the TikTok sales shop. So this is an example of what we're trying to do branding wise, where it's not technically specific to DeKalb County, because it's going to open up a bigger market for the rest of Indiana. The good thing about being
My size.
is that what?
It's your couch.
I can get your size. So the good thing is we're using printful.com and we don't have to touch anything. So they print it for us, they ship it for us, and we basically just get a kickback with that. And with TikTok sales incentives, they offer like 30% discounts that TikTok actually pays for because they're trying to push their sales algorithm to compete with like Amazon Marketplace and those kind of things. So we can push our brand, and even if we don't sell a lot per se, it's still pushing our branding. So I think that's a positive thing without really having to put a lot of time or energy into it. Like I said, the good thing with Daniel is he can really create anything for me. So we can do trails, we can do, anything. We can do the future liner, and if we do something that's specific to an attraction, like the future liner per se, then we'll be able to give NatMas a kickback of what that looks like, right? So any income that we're receiving, some will go back into the promotion of those products. We can keep some to help, and then we can give you a kickback too. So it's just kind of diversifying that income. So I'm kind of looking at that opportunity as well. Another thing that we've done, like some of our granting money is picked up. So we were able to give quality of place grants this past year. And as an example, we paired Marydale with the Spencerville Covered Bridge, gave them a quality of place grant. They I hooked them up with Corey at the Garrett Trade School as well. So they're building the stairs for them with our grant money. And so we're just looking for more opportunities like that for the smaller. I think Ashley Hudson is going to be applying for their grant to do maybe like within one of their parks, do like a stage and that kind of thing. They can have kind of more community events, bring musical acts up there, those kind of things. Waterloo used it for their Veterans Park. Garrett used it for the GM Center. The city of Auburn, Auburn used it for the Welcome to Auburn signs that you're going to actually see up on South Wayne there, and then I think out by the hospital. So another thing that we're hoping to do is a quality of place magazine. So have the festival magazine, which a lot of people know about. The shelf life is only from June to September. So I was going to open that up a little bit, do basically like top 10 attraction, top 10 industry, be able to showcase every community, have a little intro from the mayor. This is kind of what our community is about. This is what our education system looks like. That way we can kind of get it out from a bigger branding standpoint as kind of a county quality of place thing. We are hoping to have a Duesenberg at the Indy 500 this year. Because it is the 100-year anniversary of Duesenberg winning the Indy 500. The festival branding this year for 24, if anybody hasn't heard, it is Year of the Duesenberg with featuring racing history. So once again, we're just kind of using that conversation to get our foot in the door for a lot of different things. We were invited to a couple of days before the Indy 500, Indianapolis, and Governor Holcomb host a global summit, which a lot of different people come to throughout the world and throughout the United States, but invited to have the Duesenberg, if we get it to the Indy 500, get it there a couple of days early and actually hold it at the global summit as well. So, like I said, just a lot of really great opportunities, some fun stuff. So, does anybody have any questions?
Amber, just, well, first of all, does anybody else have any questions?
I don't have a question. I just have a comment to remind the public and the council here that the income for this budget comes from the room tax, not out of county general. And I was on the board years and years and years ago, and I know sometimes that was a struggle to get the hotels to pay. Is that working better now? Or?
We just have one problem area we're working with, but it
And then I just wanted to mention that I meet with Amber every month and hear reports of what she's doing, and compared to what, of course, times have changed, right, since 15 years ago when I was on their board, but the knowledge that she has in the electronics and the technology, it's all driven that way. Everything's driven by your phone. You look up where you're going, and it gives you ads and all that kind of stuff. She's on top of all that, and I'm really impressed with the knowledge that her team has in driving that.
I just want to add, Amber does an amazing job of promoting DeKalb County. If you haven't been on the website, you need to take a look, because DeKalb County is really represented all across the country, not just in Indiana. I mean, from coast to coast in every major event and every venue. And I just want to piggyback on what Bob said. You take advantage of every situation, every type of media, whether it's print, electronic, or what. But DeKalb County is first, and you bring a high level of enthusiasm. And Daniel Church, your marketing or your graphics person, does an outstanding job on putting things together. But this is a first-class operation. It really is. And DeKalb County is really fortunate to have this team here promoting us. So thanks. Keep up the good work.
what I love to do.
You do an excellent job, Amber, and we all appreciate that. As Bob said, the funding for this budget actually comes through that room tax, and that money stays in that fund and moves from year to year. They don't lose it if they don't spend it. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay, so, and how large is your staff?
It's, Daniel and I are full-time. Mary Simcox from St. Joe was actually on the board, and I asked her to leave the board so she could be my part-time bookkeeper, basically, to help keep us compliant with State Board of Accounts. She's 5 hours a week. That's kind of all she wants to work. And that's why this new full-time position that we've passed, assuming budget goes as planned, we can kind of pull them in 24 to fill some more of those gaps, to take a couple of things off of Daniel's plate. It's going to be, to do some of the project base and keep management. And obviously, if we do start getting sales, even though we don't have to touch it, we still have to track those numbers, that kind of stuff. So we're going to need some. So hopefully, for it'll be full-time.
Anybody else have anything?
Operation.
Need a motion to approve.
Anybody else having any discussion? All right, so motion to approve this budget.
I make the motion to approve.
Been moved by Councilman Kraft. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Collins, who for some reason I'm having a hard time hearing today when he speaks.
I'm gonna get a little flag and wave it from now
I'm
on
gonna
down
have,
here
you're
in
gonna have to.
the
All
gallery.
right. Then have a motion, have a second. Comment from the public? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion is carried. Thank you, Amber.
Thanks, Amber.
Yeah, we are going to take 5.
Okay, great.
That was quite the day.
All right, we're back.
All right, we're back. Ready? Call the council back to order, and we'll move on with our discussion for the health department. Let's see, Bill, I think I'll have you start that discussion. Well, we're here to primarily discuss the 2024 salaries for the environmental specialists, the food and sanitary, and then the clerical position in the office, those three.
The only thing, and I apologize, but the only thing I've worked on is both the sanitary and food inspection deal. I didn't know how to address the other one.
Okay.
But what I've put together is what I thought was, I don't know what is fair, but it's what I thought we were capable of accepting to do, wages and stuff. And I was gonna, since Kathy and Bernie, which is the two ones I was really concerned about, I've put together where 2 or 3 places. And my first thing is what I did is took their salary right now, give them a 6% raise on top of that salary, then a $15,000 raise on that salary, which would make their salary $64,986, which would be $37.70 an hour.
Slow down there.
Let's give me that number again,
I know.
Bill.
I'm nervous, I talk fast.
64,986.
Yeah, right there.
$64,986
If
salary.
I had to write figures to start out, that's what I'd start out.
And for what 2 positions was that?
It's the
All right,
environmentalist.
64,000 what?
986.
986.
And the reason I did that, and several things, I'm not gonna go into all of it, I've talked to, I forgot more than I can remember. And I don't know what the paper is, that what she does, and she does multiple jobs, and so does he. And if you compare it to other counties, and I'm gonna go off Allen, because Allen's the only one that requires a bachelor's degree in environmental health, they are making more money no matter what, and none of them, the 2 people that you can compare them to that has 20 years experience were, quote me, you have 17, right, Kathy? Yes. And Bernie, 37? 34. As the 2 there, they both are making 82,000 in Allen County, where other counties, and I have talked to other counties about this, and they said, our issue is we have people changing so fast because they don't pay them, and they get into the job and they realize it's not as a job that they want, as easy as it is. But the only 2, there's several of them here, but these are the 2 with 20 experience, and they have, let me count, I had this counted once, 12 people or something, which I realize Allen County's bigger, but we only have 3 people doing what 12 of theirs doing.
All right, so that basically lays out the issue as we have it right now. This is something we spend a lot of time on during the budget time, and we are again talking about 2024. So at this point, let's hear what Kathy and Bernie have to say. And Kathy, if she wants to speak, let's.
Wait,
I got a question. Bill, you gave us what your proposed salary for Kathy was. What about Bernie?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Same amount? It's
Same amount.
64,986?
They are both being paid 47,156, if I'm correct.
They're in the same category.
Category, and Bernie has, as he said, 34, she had 17. I thought if we moved one up, we had to move the other one up.
And I don't want to speak for you, Bill, but for the third spot, the third environmental spot, that is a new employee. So she has a lot of experience away from here in a different type of job with the health department, but not the same job, is my understanding.
I did everything
But
right.
she would be at something less than Bernie and Kathy, but still moving up in that direction. All right, so that's the issue laid out. So Bernie, Kathy, Dr. Souter, who, would anybody like to address this? Kathy, you have the podium if you want to. Okay, we will take that public comment, but let's make sure, let's limit it to 3 minutes if we can, to each person. And let's, as far as being repetitive, let's not all be up here talking the same thing.
Well, see, that's what I thought was already, that's what I did.
Hi, my name is James Reed, and just a real quick brief history. My father was I started when I was 15 years old. I just turned 69. Seen Joe. I've been student council. It's over 17 years ago. And she's built a program there that's unbelievable. Very intelligent, there's the rules, and the way she puts things out to us, keeps us going, and that people don't understand all her job duties that she really does. She does a lot more than what's recognized. Human being is the ability. She has the ability. This. Now, I'm looking out after the younger guys that are coming up through because, but speaking from to be making a big mistake, not to keep her on, to keep her here because I've seen what happens tonight.
All right, thank you, Jim.
Thank you, sir.
Who would like to be next?
She keeps the building moving. She don't hold people back like you go to some of these other counties, and it could be a month before a project even gets started. So she's really on the ball. Yeah, I think I'd try to find what you could to get her a raise. I got it.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Next?
My name's Phil Zimmerman. I'm with Zimmerman Septic Service. I'm out of Fort Wayne. We do quite a bit of work in Allen County. We also do quite a bit up here in DeKalb County and worked with Kathy many, many years now. She's been great to work with, and you basically always know where you're going to stand with her. And sometimes we have to hear the word no, that no, you can't do this, or you can't do this, or this needs to be changed. It's a lot of times, it's hard for us to tell our kids no. So that's kind of at times what she has to do with some of the things that are out there that, we bring to the table. Not saying anybody's trying to do anything shady or anything like that, but I've been through some doozy of projects with Kathy where other people have messed up on, and then they really come back to haunt the county, haunt the state, everything for that matter. But we've worked together and we've gotten through it to fix what other people have done wrong. And on the other hand, too, my company, we do a lot of septic inspections for real estate transactions. And believe it or not, I mean, that's, a lot of times when you all are buying homes and you're getting ready to inherit somebody else's, are you helping their problems, or are you taking over a good septic system? And being able to get the records from her and be able to work through things is a major, major plus in our book. So I think she's a very big beneficial to you guys for the county. And when we work with other counties, like right now, I believe in Wales County, they don't have a sanitarian right now. So for us to get our records, they have to go rely on just a secretary, somebody trying to pull records. And when we need information, if this or that, yeah, they have no idea. They refer you got to go back to the state person. But so even when they get a new person in, it takes a year or two of training to get that person up to that. Where with Kathy's knowledge, that's huge. But yeah, just like to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next.
Well, I'm C. Dwayne Embry, a professional engineer that's worked with Kathy for the last 17 years. In fact, I was here when she come into the department. You, as a professional engineer, you have no idea what happened before, and we saw it and we worked together. She is full of integrity and intelligence for the county. With the environmental laws that are affecting you guys, whether you know it or not, it's important to have somebody with experience and integrity in that office. And you don't need a training period. You need a gal that knows what she's doing. Thank you.
Excuse me.
What was your name?
Dwayne, C. Dwayne, D-U-A-N-E. Embry, E-M-B-U-R-Y.
Embry?
E-M-B-U-R-Y. I'm a professional engineer and a land surveyor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheryl, you want to?
I actually prepared for all three of the employees of my staff that are here, but I think I'll go ahead and just say it now. I just wondered if you would please just take into consideration some of these points. The educational piece has already been brought up, and it was shared with me that some counties are actually hiring high school graduates. We have so much more in our environmentalists because of their educational piece. I can go in there and ask a question, and they don't have to get on the internet and look it up. They can just answer my questions right off the top of their head. That tells, and there's confidence there. There's no hesitation. To me, that educational piece is really important, and I think when you're comparing some of these other counties, you're going to see that they're not taking that into consideration. We're blessed with the people we have. I would say the same thing of Kathy, our vital records person. She too has a degree. She is able to answer questions. She's professional on the phone. Incredible. The work, the amount of work that she does, all at the same time. Very few people would probably be able to handle that position the way she does, and she does it with ease. All of these employees are trustworthy and dependable. They don't, if I have something that I need done, I walk in and they immediately respond. There's no begrudging about it. They just respond. And they full-heartedly stop everything they're doing to rise up to the need, whether it be supporting another staff member or joining the rest of the staff in a big health department project. These folks put 100% in each day. Bernie and Kathy, it's already been talked about. They've been here a long time. They've been through all the ropes. They know the ins and outs. That experience is also key, I feel. I guess I just want to say that all of their dedication to their work is commendable, and I can tell they enjoy their work. I think that's very important when you spend time with your employees. It's a blessing for me to work with them. So I just wanted to bring up those points about all three. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Cheryl. Bernie?
My name is Bernie Sakala. I've been with the health department 34 years. Just some of the things we do, just to be aware. We handle the animal bites. We might as well start with animal bites. Every dog bite, cat bite, bat bite that comes through, we have to evaluate and decide, what kind of investigation we need to do. The main animal we worry about in this state is bats, because they are the main carrier of rabies in this state. So we definitely react always to a rabies bite. Matter of fact, about 2 months ago, I had to tell somebody was walking down Ricky Park, that trail back there, and got buzzed by a bat and broke the skin. So I had to tell them they had to get the rabies shots. So that kind of stuff, you make decisions like that. At the fair, we have, I looked at their latest thing, we have 150,000 people come to the fair. We do about 490 food stands there. There's a lot of responsibility there. You got a lot of liability involved. ACD Festival used to be bigger. Used to have about 63 stands there, 65, something like that. Now they're down to about 20 something. So it kind of shows you, but it is shifting and it seems to be growing again. And we have more restaurants than most of the counties of our size around here. If you look at it, you compare us to Steuben, you compare us to LaGrange, you compare us to Noble County, you look how many restaurants they have, and we have a lot more. We also deal with housing complaints, a lot of interaction and a lot of unhappy people. That's part of our job, is make people unhappy. So there's a lot of anger. I've been yelled at numerous times. But just some of the things that we do. And as far as septic goes, probably working on about the worst soil in the state. The soil is very heavy. It's heavy clay, got a high water table. In the compact till, or the limiting layer, is real shallow, so it's pretty bad soil. It'd be an easy job if Kathy could just tell them, put everything in trenches, and that'd be an easy job. But she's got to tell them, put in mounds or flood dose, that type of thing, because the soil is so bad. We don't have a choice, and people are unhappy because of it. So it's makes the job tougher. I just thought I'd throw out a few things. Thank you.
Yes, Kathy.
Hi, the other Kathy at the health department. I'm here for two reasons. One, of course, to support my colleagues, and the other is I seem to get forgotten in the shuffle as we're all really concentrated on the environmentalists, which we should, with their knowledge. But on my side, I'm in the right category. I'm a vital records person who also does clerking, plus a whole lot more. I like to think that I keep the office running. If you need anything in our office, they come to me. If you need reports, if you need spreadsheets created, if you need anything, you come to me. I'm just asking that for my job responsibilities that I have, that I should be compensated fairly. And if I do the work of an office administrator, I should be compensated for that. If you look at Whitley County, they have an office administrator who's also their vital records person. And their job duties are identical to what I do, identical. Meanwhile, I mean, they're making $28.11 an hour and I'm $22.56. I have more experience. I've been here 6 years. Don't plan on going anywhere. I love my job. I love the people I work with, and I want to stay here. So WIS looked at me or looked at my request, and they go, "No, you're exactly where you need to be." Well, I don't believe that. I had the opportunity. I could have went to work for Steuben County last June. I live in Angola. I would have been taking a pay cut, but when you look at the other variables, especially gas, it would be about right. Steuben County, my job there would have been only death certificates. That's it. I wouldn't even have to answer the phone. I wouldn't do any of the things I do now. So, I mean, if you want a vital records person, then just hire someone to do vital records. If you want a clerk, great. If you want to combine everything that I do, I really think I need to be put in another category to show that. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Anybody else? Mark? Dr. Souter?
Well, I've been here for a long time, and I've seen a lot of different things from really poor record keeping, poor decisions, lack of cooperation with the public. And what we have now is a blue ribbon group of people. And I know you recognize that, but this is the time to highlight it. And I want to thank you for giving them audience and for this tedious process. And I know you have some metrics that you've gone through. And as you can see, the metrics have left us a little short of where we think these people deserve to be. So I'm very supportive of your insight and your acknowledgement of the fine department that we have. I think we're outstanding compared to any of the other counties around. We've had leadership in every aspect. You've helped us get new nursing support for Cheryl, who's been doing an outstanding job of all kinds of things that you'd not think of as a nurse being able to do. So she's doing a couple people's jobs. You've taken care of some of her needs. And as you can see, we're behind. We've just gradually fallen behind in our appreciation of the financial needs of the other staff members. And since Kathy and Bernie have come in, they've kept good records. We don't have the problems we had back in the tree stage where we're putting all kind of jerry-rig systems in that we can't monitor, even the jet aeration systems and things that were kind of fly-by-night, and a lot of just plain not paying attention to duty. So we have what we need here. We're not getting sued either. They're keeping us out of litigation, and because they do what's right and they do it in a good way and they deal with the public well. So thank you for your time, and encourage you to maximize their rewards for their work, which are very excellent on every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Souter. Anybody else would like to speak? Kathy? Anything you want to add? Okay. All right. With that, let's open it up for discussion here among the council. I'll go back to Bill. You have anything else you want to add or talk about here, Bill?
I think I made did I make a mathematical?
You're fine. I wrote it on here.
Okay, I wrote the wrong per hour cost. It'd be 35, but she said 35.70 instead of 37. I just happened to write the wrong number down. Or if
Which
I
number
would
are we
have
changing?
proposed for her
Per hour.
per hour.
Oh, per hour.
Write it
Yeah,
down.
and
I'm not
I
worried
did
about
it
that.
wrong. But I have had a number of discussions with both them and everything, and plus, as you probably all know, other people I've discussed, people have called me. I've discussed it with these three guys outside. I haven't talked to them on the phone, but I appreciate their input and everything. And I've talked to, like, people up in Steuben County, and you know, projects are delayed because septic systems are messed up. And DeKalb is a hard place, and you know, we have a humongous reservoir water over by Butler underneath a lot of the ground that's farmed, and there's another one over on the west side that comes in from. So we have to protect that. That's why we've argued over dairies and stuff coming in as large. So we do not want to put a basic screw this up because of the fact that we have good people doing what they are. And like Dr. Sauter says, we haven't been sued for a while. You know, that could be coming if we decide to change personnel and everyone gets behind. But that's why I put the proposal ahead. You know, you guys have to discuss what you want. I think that's fair for them.
I have a question, Bill. We've talked about Kathy and Bernie. Now, we're going to look at Kathy Rutledge as separate category then? I haven't heard anything, any figures or anything there.
I went back and forth on that. I already put a proposal on one time to give her automatic $5,000 increase, but I kind of want to make sure I get this part, and I think we should do, and she brought it up, I think we should go back in and really look at reclassifying her and getting her a proper salary.
Just on top of that, if we're going to talk about Kathy Rutledge for a minute, she's in the COMOT B category, and she is in with individuals out of the surveyor's department, the auditor's office, the clerk's office, all three courts, community corrections, HR, the extension office, sheriff's office, prosecutor's office, and the public defender. So if we make any changes there to those to Kathy's, essentially, we're going to affect everybody people in every of those departments that I just mentioned. So
Which then could also affect every single category because the categories got 6% increase. So you'll have one category, if you change it, that is a different percentage than what was planned or approved when you did your original work.
Yes, I have a question. Cheryl, is there money available if raises would be granted to Kathy and Bernie? I mean, where's the additional money going to come from?
Her health fund, she has money.
Okay.
Yeah,
Comes from the health department, not from the general.
correct.
Right.
I just want to add, I've heard from a lot of people on this one, probably more than I have on the wheel tax. And I want to thank, you know, Mr. Embry and Zimmerman and Perkins and Stoy and Freed for coming in, because I know you guys are really busy and you took a lot of time out to get here and to testify, and it's greatly, greatly appreciated. So I'm ready, there's going to be a motion made. Do we need a motion or?
Well, unless somebody else wants to do any preliminary.
I just want to comment that I too got several phone calls on this, and they were, you know, in-depth phone calls that explained, you know, basically it's really good customer service, which is built out of knowledge and response. You get somebody that responds quickly and like the gentleman over here mentioned, doesn't hold up the job. I mean, if you take 2 or 3 days when you got something opened up, you could have rain and everything else come and really mess up your construction site. And with Kathy getting out there right away, or Bernie to a restaurant that has a roach problem, a health issue, to get those things resolved and that restaurant able to operate the next day is super important. I have a couple of family members that spent their whole lifetime operating restaurants. And so that response, and then to have the knowledge to be able to respond when you get there with the right answer to get them moving to the right direction to get it solved. I mean, and immediately, as opposed to, well, let me go back and look that up, let me try to figure that out and get back to you 2 days from Sunday. So I think we have people that, in both those positions, that are doing a tremendous job with customer service because of their knowledge and their ability to work with the public, which is really important. And we have some issues in our county right now with being friendly to development, and I think we have in this department 2 folks that are doing a great job with development, with people that want to bring business into our county, and they're servicing them really well, and people are going to continue to want to build restaurants or build housing additions and do those kinds of things when they have these kind of folks, you know, to work with. So I think it's really important that we do something for this.
If somebody else has something, we'll have a motion. And if we get a second, we'll have further discussion, and we'll go from there.
Rick, I just want to say, and this is, I appreciate the contractors coming. That speaks really well, kind of in that business. And there's a lot of contractors that don't speak well about those types of issues. So thank you guys for coming. Certainly our people are qualified. Certainly the services that they offer are great. Here's my question. I got to ask this. This is a procedure, not a personal thing, so please understand. I guess my question is, we had late spring, early summer, all of our budget stuff was being brought to us. We worked through it. September, we worked through it. How does this all of a sudden become an issue after 5 months of working through this stuff?
And to answer that question, we gave a across-the-board raise to all of our employees.
Correct.
And because of the presentations that were made by the health department, by Kathy, by Bernie, we gave them an additional amount. And that apparently was not sufficient. And that brought it back up again. So that's the answer to that question.
Would that not be the case in all of our departments? Would they not feel
It's
that same?
possible. It is possible.
Yeah.
You know, then that is something that we'll have to deal with. But I also I wanted to make sure that we didn't turn them away. I mean, we did listen. Bill spent a lot of time listening to them. I spent a lot of time listening to them. I got those phone calls. I spent time with talking with Dr. Souter. I spent time talking with and met with Andy Dirksen, the president of their board.
Right. I received calls from
And
those folks also.
so I do believe that after some of the phone calls that I've made and some of the other departments that I've talked to across the state, I think that there is room for us to make an adjustment. It's not a procedure that I would like to get into on a regular basis, but I also don't want to just say, no, you got to wait a whole year before we can address it again. So. Absolutely, because I doubt seriously if this was a general fund question, the answer would definitely be no. And, you know, we do the same thing. We got an issue with the highway department, and it's going to be all within the highway department's budget, within their fund. It's not going to be in the general fund. So that is. And I think for when we get to this question for next year, I do believe we're going to handle it a little bit differently. In reviewing some of the state law, I think there was another way we could go here that might have been beneficial to us. So,
Thank you.
Yes, I should have made Dr. Souter stand up to the podium, but if you would come up to the podium, because it needs to be recorded, so.
Thank you.
I just want to throw out there for you, I know it's going to be one thing you don't really want to hear, but you can raise the permit fees, you know, as well for the new septic systems and repairs and stuff like that. Because like in Allen County, they charge $250 for a permit fee. You know, we're here, I think it's only what, $100? 60? Oh my goodness, yeah.
We're giving it away. We're giving it away.
It's, you know, and unfortunately, the permit fees are a function of the commissioners. And I know that they have at least discussed it and with the county attorney, or I must say, the previous county attorney, and it wasn't, and no changes were made. The highway department's got the same issue. They need to really review their permit fees, but that's something that goes back to the commissioners.
Yeah, but I just wanted to know us as an installer and representatives for the owners of, I know nobody wants to pay more, but if you want to get good service, you know, you're going to pay more. So I don't think, you know, I know I wouldn't be obliged to it at all. You know, $60 compared to, you know, $250 for Allen County is huge.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Understand.
Thank you.
I'll call for the question.
Bill, you want to make your motion? Let's get, then we can go back to discussion.
Okay, what I did, I'll make the motion, and I took their $47,156, times that by the 6% we give everybody. Then I raised that by 15,000, would come up with $64,986, which is, well, I was informed, I hope all my math's right, that would be $35.70 an hour compared to their 26.88, with 26.58 that they make now compared to the $28.44 that was posed by the council. So that's my motion.
All right, and I, just to add to that before I get a second, if my math is correct, that is an addition of $13,225.20. Right.
So I started out the wrong figure? Well, that's what she gave me.
If
I'm just hearing it all at the, right now, so
the proposed
I couldn't
rate, the
tell ya.
proposed pay, annual pay for these two positions for next year with what we've got in the budget right now is $51,760.80.
and that was
That includes all of that.
7% from the prior year.
All right, now,
But that does not have the extra whatever,
okay, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Do I have a second to Bill's motion?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Van Wy and a second by Councilman Yard. All right, discussion.
Well, that's my mistake, but I'll stay with my motion of what I put in, but as I didn't read all the thing, I just seen it, she gave me the salaries of 47. But I still think that 64,986 might be a little more short, but that's what I'm gonna try to push through as a starting point.
Okay, and again, that difference is $13,225.20. That's 64,986 minus 51,760.80.
You got that?
Agree with me, Jody?
yes.
All right, discussion.
I think it's important to look at the second page of this document that Susan provided, that there's really Whitley County is probably the closest one we should be comparing to because it's similar in size, and they both have bachelor degrees, and it's 78,000. So I think, I mean, this is already a big jump, but 64,000 is a good move towards
Now,
that.
in the Whitley County one, now Scott Wagner is the actual department head.
Okay.
So he is not just the septic specialist, but he is actually the department head.
It doesn't say.
And I know that issue was brought up during budget time, and I did find out that the nurses being the department head is true in about 1/3 of the 92 counties. Either the food specialist or the septic specialist is quite often the department head in other counties.
So that department head could account for the difference between our 64 and that 78.
The other thing I found was, Allen County does require the degree when it's the actual position. The non-degreed people in Allen County are technician levels. They're not the actual environmental specialist or food specialist, but they're the technician level. The other counties don't require a degree, and that is something that has been required here. And that was the choice of the health board to make that decision. And across the state, the salary differences don't depend so much on the degree, non-degree, but depend a lot on the size of the county. So those are the different aspects to consider. But, we do require a degree, and I think that needs do believe that needs a special appreciation for that. That, along with the number of years of service that we're talking about here. Any other discussion? Yes, Dr. Souter, this time I'm going to make you come up to the podium.
I'd like to point out what you're all aware of too, that we are getting more restaurants, which is going to expand the workload. And there's another pretty tricky, ornery thing that's going on with the septic process, the permitting process, where we're going to be in a position of defending what we think is right against people who may or may not have the same interests that we do in our county's well-being, because they've changed the state regulations on who can actually finally authorize the installation. And so we're going to take on a little bit more of an adversarial role. All these things just heighten the need for these people to be recognized and supported, because they're picking up new responsibilities, and they're going to be going to war on some things that we weren't before.
I think one of those, another point to that exact thing is that the state's trying to push that you only have to have half an acre to put a septic system in, and we're going to have to defend that. We want to have that, keep that 2-acre limit here in DeKalb County, because I think that's important. I mean,
You set put a replacement system.
Yeah, you got to have room to put the replacement system, and you've got to not saturate the county with, thousands and thousands of systems.
And there's another cascade here too that we haven't really run into much, but the people doing the financing, the banks and the institutions that are providing the loans for these, are going to get more critically involved in protecting their asset too. And I have no idea what that's going to turn into, but if they don't start paying attention to it a little bit more, there are going to be some properties that are going to be, worthless because nobody can inhabit them because there's no septic system, and they've got a mortgage. So that's one of the reasons I was talking about some of the legal things. So we're up against even more that I think Kathy and the team and Bernie are quite up to handling, but it's mostly because of their multiple years of experience and the amount of trust and confidence we've placed in them is well deserved.
And another point, and it's nothing to do with him, but another point is DeKalb County has more rural homes in the area than Steuben, Noble, and LaGrange County.
What was that now?
They have more rural homes, home size
Here?
in DeKalb County as individual homes, not linked to farm ground or anything. We have more homes built out in the country that is not linked to farm ground than the other 3 counties we surround. So there's more septic systems and more things we have to watch.
One more, because otherwise we're going to keep this discussion with the council.
Sorry, but while we're kind of on this subject is like he was alluding to, is that the state is working on passing new laws for being able to do these discharge septic systems. I don't know how many of you are aware about them or not, but in Allen County, we've been installing them for about 25, 30 years. At my company, we were one of the first ones to install the first discharge system. And I have like 35 currently in Allen County. I started out to use one main manufacturer of them and found out that it was going to be a mess. Very hard to maintenance and take care of it later down the road. So where I'm kind of getting at this is the future is coming for these discharge systems where we're going to need like Kathy's knowledge and that to help us to keep them on track and to even make sure that they're being properly maintained. So just want to
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, anybody else in the council want to speak to it?
I just want to make one comment about, since I'm on the head of the HR committee, and I know this does kind of fly in the face of the WIS study, but I pointed this out before. The WIS study that we use is a guideline for what we should pay. It's a guideline. It's not something enforceable. It's not something that we have to follow. When there are exceptions, when there are overperformers, we can reward those overperformers above and beyond what that guideline says. So I just want to point that out and bring that up.
Anybody else? Just to, not restating Bill's motion, but just to make it clear to everyone, Bill's motion for these two positions.
Are you doing 2 or 3? There's a third one that's open.
Well, okay, let's talk about the third one right now. Now, the third one is a new employee, so should that category be bumped up in similar fashion? Now, she was not brought in with the same wage as what Bernie and Kathy were. And quite honestly, this is one thing I don't like to, this is the kind of discussion that normally is held in an executive session. I don't really like doing it this way, but for that person, we'll probably have to adjust it a little bit anyway. The top end, we don't have to pay the top end. We don't have to, there is a minimum. It's quite unusual as a minimum, but there is a maximum, but we don't have to pay up to the maximum. So
wouldn't you, because they're all the same category, wouldn't you set it at the 64,986 and then it would be up to Cheryl to not pay that much?
that sounds like a reasonable, sounds reasonable to me. That, you're on the HR committee, Bob. Amy, you're on the HR committee. Is that something that you could?
That's the intent, is those are ranges, and they're supposed to pay according to the range, where their experience is and what their knowledge is. And
There would have to be an adjustment of some kind, but we would not make that here in a public meeting. It would eventually become public knowledge when it becomes part of the ordinance or what she's paid at the end of the year, but.
This is where you have to rely on your department heads and elected officials, since you went with
I agree.
the study part.
I think it's reasonable, but this is also why we spent a lot of time with this during budget time, and this is to Rick Collins's, to Councilman Collins's point, this is exactly the issue. This is not something I want to get involved in this type of thing again.
Such a drastic. It takes us much longer to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
From the health fund or wherever. That's why these discussions.
Absolutely. All right, any other discussion?
I think it would be a little different discussion if they weren't, if the health department wasn't getting a whole bunch of extra money to provide new services and more services in the county. I mean, they're getting, not only do we have it already, but we're getting an additional amount of money that Cheryl's going to be able to utilize to service our health needs in the county.
All right, any other discussion? We have a motion, we have a second. The effect of the motion is that the upper end, the top end of these positions, we'll call them these two positions because we're talking about the third position, is an additional $13,225.20.
Talking
that
about
is.
the 3 environmentalists. We're talking about the 3
Right,
environmentalists.
yes, we're talking about
Yes.
the 3 environmentalists.
Okay.
This would be the top end of that category. I have a motion, I have a second. I have no other discussion. All those in favor of this signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? And that motion is carried. So that addresses that. Now we have to go back to the other Kathy. Again, it is something that if we are to make any adjustments there, and quite honestly, both Bill and I have attempted every way we could, get the job descriptions revised, get them updated, get them to WIS. Where are we in this situation? I believe we added office manager to that job description. It didn't change anything. So, that one makes it even more tougher. So, is there, and as again, I said, it truly affects a lot of departments if we make major changes to this category. So, what is your desire here?
Well, I don't know what to say on that one. I've been concentrating on the other two so much. I realized that was the deal. When I first proposed a deal, I thought she probably deserved at least a $5,000 raise. But after looking at this, I'd like to, and I'd put it this way, I'd like to sit on this one for another month because I want to see what all this affects on these other departments. I want to talk to our lady in charge over there one more time.
We're passing the salary ordinance today for
Okay.
2024.
If we pass it today with the numbers that we just put in, can we go back and make a change to it?
I can amend it, yes.
Yes. So that would have to be an amendment, Bill. So,
Well, I'd like to see her get the raise, but I mean, I've got to know too what the side effects of all these others, and if we can get her reclassified, I'd just soon do that so that we're not affecting everybody else.
that
The 2391, that is the 6%.
all right.
I need to do more study on this, look at it.
Cheryl, please come up here to the podium.
Oh my goodness. In between that little bit of time.
A
Oh my
senior
gosh,
citizen
don't
moment.
laugh at me. I'm embarrassed. I can't remember what it was.
Don't worry about
don't be
that. We all
embarrassed.
suffer that sometime, Cheryl.
I got lots. Yes, and I know that there was something I was going to say. Oh, I had already We already did the WIS. We tried to do the reclassification.
That's what I just said. Yes, that's what I said.
don't-
We've done everything that I think we can do, but I am willing to, Bill would like to sit on it for another month and see what else there might be possible.
Okay.
I really think that's going to affect all of it because I will come back and fight for my employees that it's going to affect because we've also redone job descriptions and they have a huge amount of work on them as well as many of these other departments that will be affected. So I'll just be honest, I will.
Kind of the statement I made earlier, in a roundabout way. In a roundabout way. It doesn't reflect on the people, great people.
Yes,
It's just
Kathy,
a
if you'd like to
whole-
say something, come up here.
My point is, then what am I to do? Do I not do the extra things that are expected of me? What should I
Kathy, I'm going to
do?
stop you right there. Okay, I'm going to stop you right there because that starts negotiation with the council and that I just, at this point, that's going to be inappropriate.
All right.
Because just without, so before somebody says something they would regret, please just sit.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right. I'm willing to look and see so that Bill can get the information, so we all can get the information that he's looking at. And see if there would be a change. But again, how we rank people in, how WIS ranks people. Positions, yeah, we definitely need to call it the positions. How they rank the positions is something that is somewhat standard. The dollar amount that we assign to those that's our choice. I mean, they've made suggestions in the past for those dollars that we have not been able to meet because we just did not have the funds. So we can make those changes in the dollars assigned to each one of those categories, each one of those line items. But when we do that, we need to understand that that's going to affect many different departments. Because people in that category are not just paid out of the general fund or just paid out of the health fund. And, you know, where the general fund or the health fund might be able to handle it, the highway fund or the community corrections grant might not be able to fund it. So there are ramifications throughout that. So, all right. I am willing, is everybody willing to sit on it another month? Everybody? Okay. We're going to move on to the next item on the agenda then. Thank you all, appreciate you coming in. Thank you all for the input that you've given us, that has helped make the decision.
Hey, Rick, can
Bill
we
needs to
take a
step
5-minute break?
Yeah, let's take 5.
I got to step out for a second.
Take 5. Now. Dottie, this is going to have to involve you. We're going to need more information before the December meeting on what any changes we would make to this particular category, how it would affect across the board. So, and if we can get that information to us probably a week before the meeting so that we have a chance to
Like, what are you
look
wanting?
at it, review it.
Are you wanting to know in a dollar amount? Or what are you wanting to know?
Well, a couple of things. Dollar amount would be one of them. Number one, I don't know that what that category is being paid now is inappropriate. But if we make a change to that category, how would it affect that position in particular? But how might it affect the others in that area?
So there's 32 employees in that category,
32 employees, all in the same,
all in Comont B. Mm-hmm. It's not.
It's gonna affect every category
Mhm.
and every employee.
It is going to.
That's what I said before, that's what the economy has done, you know, and everybody says, this is what McDonald's pays. It's not shot McDonald's, but it's because we're making drastic changes. We're
Exactly.
trying to do this a safe percentage, and you're moving people up, cost of living, groceries, that sort of thing. Drastic that.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Well, I just spoke to her in the hallway, that we would discuss this, as we said, on December, but that it might be an issue that has to wait the full year, so that we can address it all in a group, in the entire wage structure. And I also pointed out to her that Councilman Collins's question was exactly true. This is very rare that we would ever open up the discussion after the budget was already done. It would normally have to wait. This time, it was a little bit, I think, very unusual, and I'm hopeful that it never happens again, but
We're live.
so, going on from there. We have the 2024 salary and wage ordinance adoption, second and third reading. So we did this already when I was gone.
Okay, 1 second, before you get to that
Okay.
adoption. There was one thing that I have in the document that I sent you that was a little different, was there was a proposal that, in the highway, that the bridge foremans and the district foreman, yes, that they will end up also receiving 10% above the CDL base amount, to put them more in line with the operators. Am I saying that correctly? So I have that in the document that I sent you. That was one change that we did from the prior. And then I just updated all of the changes we just did for Pat B. So all of those changes is what you're approving on the second and third reading,
Let me clarify that.
making it
Well, let me clarify the highway one. We gave the foremans 10% above what the truck drivers had. Well, then they had and then we gave Class A's a little more than Class C's. Then we left out 3 people that are equipment operators. They can run anything, and they have Class A's, and they can drive certain vehicles, greater, equipment that others don't. And we didn't raise them any extra, so they would be better off instead of being out in the cold running a specialized piece of equipment to go drive in a truck with a Class A, they get paid more. Doesn't make any sense. So they need to, what Ben had proposed and what she included in this was a 10%, gets them paid the same as a foreman. The specialized equipment operators, there's 3 of them, it's $1.90 more an hour that they would get next year to make them in line with what a foreman is for their district. And these equipment operators are going all over the county, not just in one district. It equalizes them with the foreman instead of having them the same as a truck driver.
Any other questions about this? If not, I'll hear a motion to pass this on second and third readings.
We're passing the whole.
Yes.
Yes. And it includes, she just said, it includes what we just did for the 2 health department positions.
It includes the health department, the highway. Get up here before Hartman gets mad because I'm not talking to me. Hartman, and take my rocking chair away. If the highway, the health department, even though they weren't on first readings, we're okay with going through the second and third, right?
Yes, because you can make changes and amend
Okay.
the ordinance for the second and third.
So you're okay with this, right?
Yes.
All right, I make a motion that we pass the budget on for second and third reading.
On second and third reading, so we have a second. I have a second by Councilman Yard. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll, go ahead, Rick.
I just have one question I want to clarify because I'm pretty new to this again. Is there any conflict of interest on my part because I have a son that works in the sheriff's department when we do these kinds of?
I don't believe so.
No conflict of interest?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Because you're not actually setting his specific rate. The sheriff does that.
Correct. Correct. Thank you. Appreciate that. Just wanted to clarify that.
All right, any other questions, comments? Comment from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, that motion's carried. Next, we have an amendment to the 2023 ordinance. And we're going to read it by
I'll
title.
just explain it real quick. I'll explain it.
All right, you
All it
explain
is,
it.
this is all it is. It's 2023 salary and hourly wage ordinance amendment, ordinance 2023-OCC-13. The only thing that this is adding is it is putting in the 3rd SRO position for the sheriff's department that you guys have already approved for the 2024 budgets. They were able to hire now to be able to get a full staff. So, and they have funds to be able to do the transfer. They don't have to ask for extra money. So it's getting that on my paperwork. So if I get audited, the state is happy.
All right. Do I have a motion that we pass?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Collins that we pass ordinance 2023-OCC-13 on first reading. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Kraft. Comment from the public? Hearing none. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion is carried. Now, I need a motion to suspend the rules and read this on second and third readings by title only.
So moved.
And moved by Councilman Yard. Is there a second by Councilman Kraft? Discussion? This needs to be unanimous. Comment from the public? Hearing none. All those in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion's carried. And read the title one more time.
2023 salary and hourly wage ordinance amendment, OCC.
I have a motion to read this, to pass this on second and third readings.
I'll move to approve.
Been moved by Councilman Kraft. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Van Wy, that we pass this on second and third readings. Discussion, comments from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. That motion's carried. Now, moving on to our discussion. First is the auditor and the lit and the distribution. You have that.
Okay, so all of you have a document that looks like this.
Okay. Got it.
Rick, we're doing this
sorry.
one. Lit PTRC ordinance, it's printed there. Okay, so what this is, nothing is being changed in the lit rates that have already been adopted. So you see the first category has the allocation rate categories. You will see those existing and proposed are all the same, nothing's changing. In the next section, the property tax credit allocation categories, that is the credits that go to homeowners on their property tax bills. Like when calculation all happens, then that's the credit that goes there. So in the existing percent of revenue, you will see that 100% is all the way down at the qualified residential property. For a few years, the state has just been calculating it for us, even though that really isn't a bucket that we should have been choosing. So I worked with the state, and they were able to show me that, or tell me that 77.9% was in the 1% allocation bucket, and 22.1% was in the residential property bucket. So I just have to get that broken apart so that it's showing in the correct buckets. And then the next page just shows that we have a 0.25% expenditure rate with public safety, which that hasn't changed. So literally nothing's changing, but the state is requiring that I have all of this on one document. So everything is together. It is down with DLGF right now for formal review to be sure they agree that we have this all completed correctly. We will have to advertise and hold a public hearing. So this is coming. I wanted you guys to be aware of this. And I would like to have it completed towards the beginning of next year so that it's check mark off my plate and we can move forward and we'll be.
So we're wanting it at the December meeting.
No, we can wait till January. I just want it done
Okay.
towards the beginning of next year, then waiting until September and having to scramble and try to get it done.
If we can get it done in December, I'd like to get
It's
it
just
done. and off.
classifying the
So-
tax credits in the appropriate columns.
Yes, so the only thing is really that tax credit allocation, I had to make the 100% split apart, and that's it. So that'll be coming.
Come here. Testing action on today, right?
You cannot, because we have to advertise and have a public hearing and whatnot, because it's a rate ordinance, even though it's not really changing.
Okay.
So then, the next thing I have is I put a proposed council meeting schedule. Rick and I had talked, and we are going to go ahead and add an October meeting that you don't see on here. We're going to add the October, because it's a long,
There's too
area.
much time
Yeah.
between September 18th and November 13th, so we really do need to meet in October.
so, but if you guys notice, I have proposed that we move our council meetings to Wednesday mornings, the second Wednesday of every month, just the next day. So we'll want to look at that. We don't have to approve this until next month.
That gives Susan a break between the commissioners' meeting on Monday and when she has to, be with us on Wednesday. So I think it's a good idea. The other thing I wanted to point out about this, and I believe it's because of the schedule of everything. The September meeting, if it was on the second Wednesday, would be the 11th. But because of the approval date, it's going to be on the 18th. So that's the one that doesn't meet the second Wednesday of the month.
Correct.
Well,
So in July,
Oh, and August is the same thing.
so July and
August is the
August.
same thing.
August will be the month that we have 2 meetings so that we can have the, and we'll just have to see how this goes this year. So the reason why the final adoption is moved up to the September 18th, the week prior, is because that last week of September is always an AIC conference that I will have to attend now with a different duty that I have taken on. So I want to be sure that it is done before I'm away for that week. So that bumps back the other days. I don't believe that between July 10th and 11th and come August 7th, I don't believe that we would have enough time to get everything calculated, ready to roll for you guys to make decisions in order to have a first reading that day. So that's why I added the ending August meeting so that we can have a first reading with our public hearings per the state in August. So things are kind of just backing up, so we are done sooner.
Is the October meeting the 9th?
It would be the 9th, yeah.
Okay.
We're going to keep it that way because I already filled it all into my calendar.
So this doesn't have to, we can bring this back in December to formally adopt
Because
it.
Amy's not had a chance to talk about it. She didn't have an objection to Wednesday, but
Correct.
probably hasn't really paid attention to the other
Yes,
changes.
so I wanted you guys to have that to look at.
The only one I have objection to, I mean, the rest is January 10th. I've already made plans for so I was here January 9th.
Okay.
And I want to be here for that first meeting. And I'd like to keep that on Tuesday, but the rest of the time, I don't care. If we have it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, or Friday, because it still takes valuable time out. But see, I already made plans thinking that we're going to have it on January 9th.
I have a conflict on January 9th, so I can't be here on the 9th.
Need to have
Do we want Bill or do we want Bob?
Well, come on,
Big
guys.
I can be here, I'm just going to be late.
We can do that.
And you've done that before, Bob.
Yeah, I'll be about
with
half hour,
being
45
late.
minutes.
But in January isn't usually a big month of anything. So we might even be done before you can get here. But elect officers and all the appointments and everything will be done in December, so we won't have to worry about that. Probably not a whole lot of chance to do an additional already on the first meeting of the year, so.
I won't let them.
Don't challenge Susan. She might come up with something.
I won't let them.
That is true.
So is that one going to be on the 9th then? The January 1?
I'd like to see it on the 9th.
I don't
Because
know
I've already
about that.
I've already made deals for the 10th, 11th, 12th, so
Okay.
if that's okay with you
I
guys.
have no I have no problem.
Then the rest of
with
the
it.
Wednesdays, I can look at and see what it fits. I see it's on Valentine's again this year, so I have to find some candy for you guys.
But Rick, you
I'd rather
alluded
have
to
flowers.
Councilwoman
All right.
Dempsey has conflict with all
After I
of
see-
Wednesdays, correct?
What's that?
I said, did you allude to that Councilwoman Dempsey has
No.
conflict with all
No,
of
I
Wednesdays?
just say that Prosser, I meant Prosser,
Oh, okay.
said that she didn't have a problem with Wednesdays. But
Okay.
she
Did not
probably
have
didn't
a
have a chance to look at the other days.
Did not
I
have a
don't know.
problem with Wednesday.
Did not have a problem, okay.
Yeah. Did, Amy, I don't,
know. I'm gonna have to look.
Would be another day.
It doesn't matter. I just threw it out as a proposal for you guys to look at and to see if it's gonna work. If it's not gonna work, then it's not gonna work, and I'll figure it out.
well, and, I don't want to open the door up too wide, but we don't have to meet in the morning either. We can meet in the afternoon. Okay, that's what I thought.
No,
No.
Yeah.
no, you waste too much time if you go in the afternoon. So we'll all think about it, and we'll come back December, and we'll just put it together.
But I don't, as far as the January meeting, I don't care one way or the other. I don't know about anybody else, but.
Yeah, because I already,
Wednesdays and Thursdays work better for me, and I was just going along with Susan, because I think having an all-day commissioners meeting and then an all-day council meeting back-to-back 2 days is.
A lot.
Our council meetings could shorten up to about 2 hours, it'd help.
All right,
This has
let's
been
move on from that. In the next is the liaison and board appointments. The easy one, your liaison appointments. Is everybody fine with the appointments that you have? No. You want to change? You want out of the health department, do you?
I went out all three of them.
I also just provided this for viewing, so everybody knew we won't do it until December.
Right, it's not going to be done until
soil-
December, but I'm just, it'd be so that.
Soil and water's easy. It's the other three that's had the last year and a half.
I'm just saying that if there's somebody that wants to change, that gives me a chance over the course of the next couple of weeks to talk to people. So if you're all fine with the appointments that you've got on the first page, we flip over to the second page, a number of those items, tax abatement committee, Bill, you still want to stay with the plan commission,
Oh,
correct?
yeah, I'll stay with
Okay.
it, even though it's turning my hair white.
Amy's not said anything about soil and water, so I'll check with her on that. Jail committee is, non-functioning right now. Tax abatement, everybody fine with that one? Amy, Dave? Okay. Job classification, HR committee? Good with that one? All right. Dave, Rick, would you like to consider that?
What does that entail?
Job classification.
Meetings.
Is that a monthly meeting? Is that?
I mean, it's a
Probably six.
lot of great information. But
Well, if you or Dave would like to be considered, let me know, if you'd like to think about that. The economic partnership, that please do and keep them strong, because there's a lot of undercurrent going on right now that I want to make sure that group stays strong. Waterloo Township Board, there's got to be an error there with the, no, that's not, no, never mind, I looked at it wrong. Garrett, I was looking at Waterloo, the Garrett's fine. Eckhart, now, I have met with Barb Morrow, who is the president of the Eckhart Library Board. They have made a recommendation for a replacement for Carrie Ackerman. Carrie is ineligible to get another term. There's, in their bylaws, they're limited to the number of consecutive terms that they can have. So they've made a recommendation. I've checked that person's references, and I'm waiting to meet with that person. So if anybody would like to meet with them, when I meet with Amy, and I will meet with Amy, I will meet with the recommendation and with Barb Morrow, who's the president of the board at the library. I'll set up a meeting to kind of talk with her. If anybody'd like to join that meeting, I'll be more than happy to include you. We do have a resignation letter from Rick Walters from the DeKalb Redevelopment Commission, and I am currently searching for a replacement for Rick. He is going to be doing more time in Florida and won't be able to devote as much time here. And then
Ron.
Rick. So
Rick Walters.
there's two different boards, so go up from what you see about, yeah.
DeKalb Economic Development Board, DeKalb Redevelopment Commission, the one. The Butler Library appointment should be coming up here. I've not heard anything from Butler Library, but Kathy Bowen's term essentially ends in December. Dave Bunn has been our appointment to the Tourism Board, and that was an appointment that we made to fill in a spot for somebody else. I don't even remember who it was that left. But I'll talk to Dave, and if he's willing to stay, are we willing, I mean, is that an appointment that everybody's still good with? Okay. The PETA-BOA board, we go through this every year, where she can't find Democrats to fill that spot. One of these two people is not a DeKalb County resident, because they couldn't find anybody that qualified, so they took somebody out of Steuben County. So I'll talk to her and talk to, I've always had her talk to the Democrat chairman to see if they couldn't find anybody, and they never have been able to come up with a recommendation for them. Other than that, it looks like Milton, his position, that is listed as it ended 2/1 of '23, so I don't know if that's correct or not. And then Dawn Mason's is listed as ending in 23. I mean, that
That will be December.
that 2/1 of '23 might just be a
I'll
typo.
look
It
at that.
might be a 12. They would be, this would be our county appointment to their boards, and it would have to do with TIF districts and things like that. Down here in town, no, that's different. That's different. So anyway, and those are names, the people that we've appointed are people that have been suggested to us. I mean, and they normally tell us when when an appointment needs to be made. And I'm like going down here to Tyler McCowan, that we've put him on the Alcoholic Beverage Commission a couple of times. And that's just a one-year appointment. But the Eckhart Library, the Tourism Commission, and the DeKalb County Redevelopment Commission are ones that we will be doing next month, definitely. The others, we can. So, any questions on that? If not.
Do you have a candidate for the DeKalb County Redevelopment Commission?
What?
Do you have a candidate in place?
No, I'm still searching for one, as is that group.
Okay.
Ron just gave us his resignation just late last week, or Rick just gave us that late last week.
Right.
All right. Anything else?
No.
If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Rick?
Oh, I make a motion to adjourn?
A motion and a second that we adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same. That motion's carried. Please turn that off.